This is College Classic Campus Hits. I'm TC Barra. God bless you and good morning. We're reading Your Will, Lord, Not Mine by Dr. R. Benny Hinn and Dr. Benny Hinn. We can pray and change that. Now, a lot of people think that when it's God's will, that's it. That's it. It's God's will. The late Dr. Paul Crouch once told me that's not always the case. You have to meditate, fast, and talk to God that you can change His mind. And you can. A lot of people know that. It's God's will, it's all right, that's it, that's all. But Hezekiah changed God's mind. And so can you. Hezekiah was given 15 years more in abundance because he walked with God. And today, you need to think about if God's willing to do that for you. And I believe He is. I believe God's going to do more than that. So if you ask God for 15 years today, you'll definitely be here tomorrow. Meditation, fasting, trust, joy, and love. Definitely. Now we are reading the stumbling blocks, the 4 stumbling blocks. The first stumbling block was the nature of sin is that it creates a barrier between God and us, as the prophet Isaiah described. But your iniquities have separated between you and your God. Isaiah 59:2. The sin will cause your ears to get plugged so you cannot hear God's voice. And the next one was stumbling block 2. He that saith he is in the light and hateth his brother is in darkness even until now. And he that loveth his brother abideth in the light, and there is none occasion of stumbling in him. But he that hateth his brother is in darkness, and walketh in darkness, and knoweth not whither he goeth, because that darkness hath blinded his eye. Stumbling block number 3. But I fear lest by any means, as the serpent beguiled Eve through his subtlety, so your mind should be corrupted from the simplicity that is in Christ. And stumbling block number 4. Knowing God's will must include the development of spiritual eyes to recognize God's direction in your life. Begin by understanding the 4 stumbling blocks that can detour or stop you from knowing and doing God's will. Stumbling block number 4. A made-up mind. George Miller, 1805-1898, was a Prussian-born English evangelist and philanthropist, a man of faith and prayer. He established numerous orphanages in England, and once he was asked, "How do you find God's will?" And he replied, "When you come to God, have no mind in matter. Come to God without your mind made up." It's good advice. Today, more than ever, when we seek God's direction with our minds already made up, we usually hear only what we want to hear. And if God answers differently than we expect, we assume that He hasn't answered us at all. Not true. It wasn't the answer you wanted, or maybe the answer we wanted. We must be on guard against these 4 stumbling blocks. If you allow sin into your life, you will miss God's will. If you allow hate and bitterness to control you, you will miss God's will. If you allow busyness and confusion to set in, you will miss God's will. And if you seek with your mind already made up, you will miss God's will. Again, these are the 4 stumbling blocks we need to penetrate our mind with. We must be on guard against these 4 stumbling blocks. If you allow sin into your life, you'll miss God's will. That's that lawsuit we're allowing right now. If you allow hate and bitterness to control you, you'll miss God's will. That's that anger we get when that lawsuit comes about us. You allow busyness and confusion to set in, you will miss God's will. That's all the people who jump in when you have that lawsuit, once you've allowed it, or even before. And if you seek God with your mind already made up, you will miss God's will. And they're going to sue me again. I don't know. I don't know. Always be ready to confess and turn from your sin. Lord, I rebuke all that, and I ask you to forgive me of my sins. And I forgive all who sinned against me. Forgive those who have hurt you. Wait on God. Seek God with no will on your own. Your will, Lord, not mine. It requires an awesome act of faith to set your will aside. Amen. So here we see Benny teaching us, and we may not be paying attention as we should. This is College Classic Campus Hits. God open my ears and my heart and my mind. Close my mouth. Man.